I saw my boss sunbathing, and honestly, I thought about turning around. But the folder sitting next to her lounge chair caught my eye first. Numbers never lie, and when you spend 8 years looking at financial statements, you learn to spot trouble even from 20 feet away. Claire Townsend stretched out on that beach chair like she owned the ocean. Black bikini, oversized sunglasses, skin already turning pink from too much California sun. She was the founder of Townsend Enterprises, the woman who built a tech company from nothing and turned it into something people actually respected. And there she was, looking like any other person trying to forget their problems for an afternoon. Except the problems were right there in that folder. The wind kept trying to steal the pages. I watched one sheet lift up and flap back down. From where I stood, I could see columns of numbers, rows of data, the kind of paperwork that most people take to quiet offices, not public beaches. She tilted her head toward me as I got closer. The sunglasses came down just enough for her to look over the top. Her eyes were green, sharp, the kind that miss nothing. "Enjoying the view?" she asked. Her voice had that same controlled edge she used in company meetings. Like everything she said was a test you didn't know you were taking. I could have said something safe, could have mumbled an apology and kept walking. Instead, I met her stare and said, "You." One corner of her mouth moved, not quite a smile, more like she was surprised but refusing to show it. She sat up, reaching for the folder as another gust of wind tried to scatter everything. I moved without thinking, caught 3 pages before they could fly away, pressed them back into order. And that's when I saw it. Line 6, profit margin of 42%. Right there in black ink like it was supposed to make sense. But 2 lines down, the operational cash flow told a different story. The numbers didn't match, couldn't match. Someone had made them look good on the surface while the foundation crumbled underneath. "Line 6, I said, holding the page so the breeze wouldn't rip it from my hands. "Your profit margin doesn't line up with your cash outflow. Someone's hiding a problem in your equipment depreciation schedule." Her whole body changed. The relaxed beach pose disappeared. She became the CEO again, even in a bikini. "Who are you?" she asked. "Derek Walsh. I work in your finance division. Senior analyst." She studied my face like she was trying to remember if she'd seen me before. Probably hadn't. Companies like hers employ hundreds of people. Most of us are just names in the system. "And you can read financial statements in 5 seconds? I've been cleaning up messes like this for 8 years, I said. I pointed to the bottom of the page. "Whoever made this report used the wrong amortization method. Your asset line is covering up missing cash. That's why everything looks fine on paper while the company bleeds money." She stood up, grabbed a thin white cover-up from her bag, and wrapped it around herself. But she never stopped looking at me. "Do you know why I'm here, Derek? Taking a break from the office? My CFO quit yesterday," she said. Her voice was flat, controlled, but I heard the anger underneath. "A board member named Trevor Harding is pushing for an emergency audit. He says I mismanaged our last major investment. If he proves I made bad decisions, I lose control of my own company." The folder shook slightly in her hand. Not from fear, from rage that she was keeping locked down tight. "You brought work to the beach," I said. "I needed space to think," she replied. "And I guess I needed someone who could actually see the problem." She pulled out her phone. "How fast can you start working on this?" I looked at the pages in my hand, then at her face. "Right now, if you want." She nodded once. "My rental is 2 minutes up the path. Come on." We walked in silence. She didn't put on shoes, just carried them in one hand while the folder stayed tight in the other. The house sat on a cliff overlooking the water. Big windows, expensive furniture, the kind of place people rent when they need to disappear for a while. Inside, the air conditioning hit like a wall of cold. The dining table was buried under more papers. Printed reports, acquisition documents, emails that had been read so many times the pages were soft. Claire dropped her sandals by the door and stood taller without them. "Trevor's forcing a board vote in 48 hours, she said. "He claims the investment money isn't where it should be. If I can't prove him wrong, The board will remove me. I spread the papers across the table, started sorting them into piles. Talk me through the investment. When did it happen? How much money? 6 months ago. 15 million. We bought a smaller company that had technology we needed. The deal closed clean. All the lawyers signed off. And Trevor's saying what exactly? That the money disappeared. That I moved it somewhere it wasn't supposed to go. That I'm either stupid or stealing. I found 2 stacks that mattered. Held them up side by side. This is your acquisition funding paperwork. This is your operational expense report from the same time period. See this vendor payment. She leaned closer. Close enough that I could smell her sunscreen mixed with something floral. Which one? Right here. Classified as a regular operational expense. But the vendor ID matches a holding company connected to your investment. Someone moved it from one category to another. Made it look like normal business spending when it was actually investment money. Her eyes went wide. That's specific. The lie is simple, I said. That's why it works. Complicated fraud gets caught. Basic fraud hides in plain sight. I noticed her hand then. A small tremor. Not obvious unless you were watching for it. Her fingers tapped against the table edge like they couldn't stay still. Low blood sugar. Adrenaline crash. I'd seen it before in people running on stress and nothing else. When did you eat last? I asked. She blinked. What? Food. When? I don't know. Yesterday? Breakfast maybe. You need to eat something. Your blood sugar is low. That's why your hand is shaking. You can't make good decisions when your body is shutting down. She stared at me like I'd just spoken another language. Are you seriously giving me orders right now? I'm keeping the most important asset functional, I said. The asset is you. Order food. Something with actual protein in it. A tired smile touched her face. Real for just a second. Sushi. If you can handle wasabi. I can handle anything, she said, already tapping her phone. That was the moment something shifted. Not big, not obvious, but real. She ordered food while I kept working through the papers. Found another problem in the equipment depreciation. Then another in the vendor payments. Each one small enough to miss. All of them together big enough to destroy her. By the time the food arrived, I had a list. By the time we finished eating, I had a theory. By 2 in the morning, I had proof. Vendor code TH 884. It showed up in 12 different places across 6 months of records. Every time it was classified as a normal business expense. But when I traced the actual payments, they all went to the same place. A shell company. One that routed money to a private investment firm. One that belonged to Trevor Harding. Can you prove it? Claire asked. She sat across from me at the table. Hair loose now. Blazer thrown over the back of her chair hours ago. The clock on the wall said 2:17. Outside, the ocean was black except for moonlight on the waves. Not yet, I admitted. I can show you the pattern. I can show you where the money went. But to prove Trevor did it on purpose, I need access to the real system. Transaction logs. Original entries. The stuff that shows who made each change and when. She didn't hesitate. Opened her laptop, typed a password without looking at the keys, and pulled up something that looked official and complicated. I'm giving you temporary access, she said. Time limited. Everything you do gets logged. My legal team will get copied on the authorization. She slid a printed form across the table and signed it. Her signature was clean, confident, fast. I'm not here to cause problems, I said quietly. Her eyes lifted from the paper. That's not what worries me. Then what does? Being alone when Trevor makes his move, she said. He's not just coming for my job. He's coming for everything I built. And until yesterday, I thought I'd have to face him by myself. I held her stare. You won't. 3 days later, we were back in Los Angeles. The Townsend Enterprises building rose 40 stories into smoggy California sky. Glass and steel and enough money to make people nervous. Claire walked through the lobby like she owned gravity itself. I followed 3 steps behind, wearing a temporary ID badge that said contractor. People stared, whispered, wondered who I was and why I was suddenly everywhere the CEO went. Trevor Harding found me on my second day. I was set up in a small office on the executive floor, working through transaction records on a borrowed laptop. He didn't knock, just opened the door and walked in like he had every right. Dropped a thick manual on my desk. It landed with a heavy thud. "Mr. Walsh," he said, smiled without any warmth behind it. "We have very specific protocols about contractors accessing sensitive company data." "Section 7, I said. Didn't even look at the manual. His smile flickered. "You've read it. Every word. Especially the part about board members needing to disclose their financial conflicts of interest." Something changed in his eyes. Still smiling, but colder now. "You should be careful. Claire is impulsive. Makes emotional decisions. When she falls, you don't want to be standing next to her." My expression didn't change. Didn't give him anything. "I don't plan on falling. I plan on standing exactly where I am." He studied me for 5 long seconds, then walked out without another word. But I saw it in his shoulders, in the way he moved. He wasn't done. Not even close. The next 3 weeks blurred together. Audit trails, conference calls, lawyers asking questions in language designed to confuse, reporters calling Claire's office, stock price dropping every time someone printed another rumor. I stayed close, ran interference when I could, answered questions that didn't need to reach her, made sure she actually ate lunch instead of just drinking coffee until her hands shook. One Thursday afternoon, she was trapped on a video call, for hours straight, investors demanding answers she couldn't give yet. I watched through the glass wall of her office, saw her press fingers against her left temple, migraine building, coffee going cold on her desk. I didn't ask permission, made fresh coffee in the break room, grabbed a bottle of water, found pain medication in my bag. When the call paused for a minute, I walked in, set everything beside her hand, swapped the cold mug for the hot one, didn't say a word, didn't make eye contact, just moved with precision and left. Her shoulders dropped an inch. She took the pills, drank the water. Through the glass, she gave me a single nod. Not thank you, just acknowledgement. Message received. 2 weeks after that, she showed up at my temporary office wearing a dark red dress and heels that made her 3 inches taller. "I need you tonight," she said. "No explanation." Like I should already know. "The charity gala," I said. I'd seen it on her calendar. "Trevor will be there. He'll corner me about next quarter's projections. Try to make me look unstable in front of people who matter. If you're with me, he'll behave himself. He'll behave because he knows what I found," I corrected. "He's afraid of evidence, not witnesses." Her mouth curved slightly. "Maybe he's afraid of both." The gala was at some museum downtown. Rich people in expensive clothes pretending to care about art. Claire and I arrived together. She introduced me to a few people as a strategic consultant. Nobody asked for details. We were standing near a sculpture that looked like twisted metal when the temperature dropped. Ocean breeze coming through open doors. Claire shivered. I took off my jacket without thinking. Draped it over her shoulders. She pulled it tighter around herself. "It smells like you," she said quietly. "Coffee and something else. Determination, maybe." "Safety," she said, corrected herself. Like that was the word she actually meant. A photographer rushed us 30 minutes later. Camera flashing. Questions being shouted over music and conversation. "Ms. Townsend, can you comment on the financial irregularities?" I stepped between them. Not aggressive. Just there. Solid. "Ms. Townsend has no comment. And you're blocking the exit. Move." The photographer blinked. Looked confused. Then moved. Claire let out a long breath. "Thank you." "I built a wall," I said. "Walls don't ask permission." We cut through a back hallway to avoid more reporters. Concrete floor. Fluorescent lights. The sound of our footsteps echoing off bare walls. That's where Trevor found us. Stepped out from a side door like he'd been waiting. Knew exactly which route we'd take. "Claire," he said. voice calm and reasonable. We should talk privately. Not here, she said. He ignored her, looked at me instead. Still playing bodyguard, Walsh? I shifted forward. Not threatening, just geometric. My body became a barrier between them. Pick a lane, Harding. Either I matter or I don't. You're interfering in board business. You're standing in a restricted corridor, I said, voice level, calm. There are security cameras. 3 of them. His eyes flicked up. He hadn't noticed. Claire stepped beside me. Deliberate. Visible. A choice made public. Trevor leaned toward her anyway, close enough to invade her space. Resign tonight, he said quietly. Save yourself the embarrassment tomorrow. The board's already made up their minds. I didn't touch him, didn't raise my voice, just stood in his path like a locked door. One more sentence that sounds like a threat, I said, and I request the security footage. Your lawyers won't be able to make it disappear. You're bluffing. I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen twice. Timestamp, location, witnesses present. Documentation started. Claire's voice went ice cold. Move. Now. Trevor's face twisted. Enjoy your pet, Claire. I don't follow orders, I said quietly. I stand my ground until the work is done. He walked away. Claire watched him go, then looked up at me. You saw all 3 cameras. For actually, I said. One's hidden in the exit sign. Back at the office after midnight, the city spread out below us in a grid of lights. Claire sat on the floor of her office, shoes off, back against the couch. She looked exhausted, human in a way she never allowed during business hours. I set a bag of takeout on her desk. Thai food still counts as dinner. She laughed, short and surprised and real. I have never eaten pad thai on my office floor. Tonight you're not a CEO, I said. You're just a person. Eat. She took a container, opened it, took a bite. Her eyes went wide. This is actually good. I slid a napkin across the desk. She wiped her mouth, still half smiling. You treat everything like a mission. I treat everything like it matters, I said. Because it does. Even Thai food after midnight? Especially that. Can't fix problems on an empty stomach. The internet tried to destroy Claire on a Tuesday. I was reviewing transaction logs when my phone started buzzing. Then kept buzzing. Messages from people I barely knew. Links to websites I'd never heard of. All of them showing the same thing. Documents. Dozens of them. Employee complaints about harassment. Claims that Claire ignored reports of misconduct for years. Internal memos that made her look cold, cruel, like someone who protected bad people because it was easier than doing the right thing. My office phone rang. Claire's assistant, voice tight with panic. She needs you. Now. Claire's office felt smaller than usual. She stood at the windows, back to the door, staring out at the city like she was watching it turn against her. Her tablet sat on the desk, screen still glowing with one of the leaked documents. I never saw these, she said. Didn't turn around. None of them. I never ignored anything. I never protected anyone who hurt my employees. I picked up the tablet, started reading. The format looked official. Company letterhead.
Datas.
Signatures that seemed real, but something felt wrong. Let me check the files, I said. She turned then. Her eyes were red but dry. What's the point? The board called an emergency meeting. Tomorrow afternoon. Trevor's already telling people I created a toxic workplace. The stock dropped 12% in an hour. Give me the original files. Not screenshots. The actual PDFs. Her assistant sent them within 3 minutes. I opened the first one on my laptop. Didn't read the words. Read the data underneath. Every digital file carries information most people never see. Who created it? When? What software they used? What computer it came from? Like fingerprints that nobody remembers to wipe away. The first document claimed to be from 2023. 2 years old. But the properties panel told a different story. The font package embedded in the file was from a software version released 3 months ago. 2025. Someone had created a new document and tried to make it look old. Changed the visible date but forgot about the invisible data. Look at this, I said. Turned the screen toward Claire. She leaned close. What am I seeing? The file says it's from 2023, but the software used to make it didn't exist until this year. It's fake. Backdated. Someone made